match for the 54th occasion this afternoon, the third of a 3-test series. The first 2 tests won by South Africa in Johannesburg by 42 points to 39, in Bloemfontein last week by 23 points to 12. The series wrapped up a week ago, but Rassie Erasmus's Springboks, under the leadership of Siya Kolisi, desperate to do the 3-0 whitewash of England in this series. England coming off 5 consecutive test match losses, and also that loss against the Barbarians 63-45 at Twickenham before they departed for this tour, and desperate to get on track with a win. Joe Marler replaces Mako Vunipola at loosehead prop. No change at hooker or at tight head. Joe Launchbury was unavailable for the first test in Johannesburg, but made his return to some good effect in the second row last week alongside Maro Itoje. No Billy Vunipola either. He was injured last week. Nathan Hughes at 8. Chris Robshaw returns to the flank in place of Brad Shields, who is injured. Ben Youngs and Danny Cipriani in for George Ford, who's out of the 23. Owen Farrell continues to captain from the midfield with Henry Slade outside him. And Elliot Daly, Johnny May and Mike Brown have been full of running throughout this series. Brown and May both crossing the line for tries in each of the first 2 test matches. On the bench, Hepburn comes in. Alec Hepburn of Exeter. A lot of Exeter players on the bench. Cowan Dickey, Hepburn, Williams, Hill and Simmons, all from the Exeter Chiefs, as Eddie Jones goes for a 6-2 split in favour of the forwards on the bench. Well, South Africa lost in Washington against Wales in their first match under coach Rassie Erasmus, but now the 2 wins against England. Chiliboy Ralapela gets a start at hooker, as both Bongio Bonambi and Aka van der Merwe are rested. Snyman and Mostert have been the regular lock pairing for this series so far. Peter Steph du Toit started on the flank in place of Jean-Luc Dupré a week ago and continues in that role with Kolisi and last week's man of the match, Dwayne Vermeulen, the balance of the back row. Elton Jantjies starts at fly half in place of Andre Pollard, and Andre Esthuizen and Jesse Creel in for Damien de Allende and Lucanio respectively. They were the centre pairing against Wales in Washington. Warwick Gelant also gets a start at fullback in place of Willie Leroux. Sbu Nkosi and Apiwe Dyantyi have been outstanding in the series so far. Schalk Brits, if he gets on this afternoon, becomes the 2nd oldest Springbok after Victor Matfield in jersey number 16. And then Ambrose Papier also included as the scrum half replacement on the bench this afternoon. It is cold, it's wet, the rain has gone away for now, but very damp underfoot. It is going to be a tactical battle. The forwards are going to be absolutely crucial in determining the outcome of this, as too are the 2 fly halves, Elton Jantjies and Danny Cipriani for South Africa and England respectively. Much will depend on the effectiveness of their tactical kicking and conditions that neither of them would favour. And no better time then to introduce in commentary a former Springbok fly half, Joel Stransky. Good afternoon.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Both those guys would much have preferred dry conditions. Danny Cipriani, Elton Jantjies, both renowned for their running game. As England make their way on, you can see the water flopping and slapping around their feet. Not torrential rain, but certainly a lot of water underfoot, and it's going to be wet. It's going to be a tactical battle to start, a lot of tactical kicking. I'd imagine there'll be a lot of up and unders. We've seen Ben Youngs kicking them, we've seen Faf de Klerk kicking them, and as much as the kickers will be responsible for kicking those kicks, it's going to be the back 3 that have got to field them. For South Africa, Dyantyi and Nkosi will come under a bit of kicking pressure. Johnny May and Mike Brown, maybe to a lesser extent, will be fielding those kicks. South Africa would be well advised to not kick on Mike Brown, who's traditionally quite safe under the harbour. Warwick Gelant, more renowned as an attacking fullback, will have to get a little dirty in the mud today and knuckle down and play maybe a slightly different game plan to the open plan he would love to have played. But as Matt Pearce alluded to it, it's going to be won and lost up front. It's a South African backer forwards that have dominated as Impey makes his way onto the field, and with no studs, you can see just how slippery it is for the big fella.
Well, we've had some very special moments in this series so far. Siya Kolisi leading his country for the first time out onto Emirates Airline Park in Johannesburg in the first test. Tendai Tawarira getting his 100th test cap in Bloemfontein a week ago. And now Siya Kolisi leading South Africa for the third time and in front of his home ground at Newlands in Cape Town.
I can tell you as a player, this is one of the great stadiums to play in. The crowd feel on top of you. They are close to the field. The noise, the support ebbs into your body, and that man there will be feeling it right now. What a leader he has proved to be. What a great player he is. What a great captain. In his own way, he is and is growing into the role. Great to see that man back in action as well. Retired a week ago, back in action today. And will certainly have an impact later on in this game. Also a man renowned for his stepping ability, his ability ball in hand, and these England players will know him better than most of us because Scott Brits has been playing straight at Saracens for the last few years.
First though, I'd like everybody to observe a moment's silence in memory of the former Springbok prop, Louet Muller.
So the players lined up for a moment's silence. Former Springbok prop forward Louet Muller tragically passed away.
And now, ladies and gents, please remain standing for first the English national anthem, which today will be sung by Jared Ricketts.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, God save the Queen. Send up victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen.
And now the South African national anthem, which will be sung by Janice.
Well, yet another rousing rendition, and pitch side with us this afternoon is former Springbok hooker Owen Nkumani, who's in something of a paddling pool down there. Would take us through the conditions, Owen.
Yeah, very good afternoon, Matthew. Well, it's what you've spoken about it. It just makes it a challenge for the players. But what really stood out for me coming into the stadium is just the crowd outside, the excitement. Test match rugby, Springboks are on the high at the moment. The great opportunity lies ahead for some of the changes that Rassie Erasmus has made today. Scrum time, it's going to be a lot closer. It's going to be the game in the trenches.
What a moment for Chili Boy Ranapelle as well. He came off the bench against Italy in Padova in November. And that had been his first test since 2013. But now starting a test match at the age of 31. In place of Bongio Bonambi. Akar van der Merwe also not in the match day 23 today. Chili Boy Ranapelle started against the British and Irish Lions in the third test of 3 in the series back in 2009. And Glenn Jackson of New Zealand gets the test match underway with a shrill blast of the whistle and into the hands of Johnny May after Elton Yankees had made the first kick in for Handré Pollard. That fly half, and a huge responsibility on the shoulders of Elton Yankees to help dictate territorial matters this afternoon. First touch for Warwick Gelant, starting a test for the second time, but for the first time at fullback. Just nudged forward off the boot of Jesse Creel. Early indications of just how difficult these conditions are going to be. The rain has gone away for now, but so much has fallen in the build-up to this game. Esther Hazen on the bounce to Sia Kolisi. Makes some good headway before the tackle is made by Launchbury. Then Faf de Klerk's chip over the top. And back for it was Johnny May to claim the mark. And a quick tap and go for May. One of these standout players for England in this series. Strong defence around the fringe of the ruck from last week's man of the match, Dwayne Vermeulen. England making no headway there through Nathan Hughes. Ben Young shaping to kick once again. It'll be a test all afternoon for South Africa's young and inexperienced back three. Warwick Gelant passing that test well. There'll be plenty of work for Franco Mostert, Jean-Luc Duprier later in the game, Peter Steph du Toit, that blind side flank, the big ball carriers for South Africa. He called on regularly. Kyle Sinclair with the drive now for England. Again, it's Gelant who makes an early call. Johnny May perhaps a little bit impeded there by Sia Kolisi, but he never changed his line, so play on was the call. Mostert. Another carry. Tawarira through the middle in the same fashion that he did in the lead up to Dwayne Vermeulen's try in Bloemfontein last week. Strong opening passage of play here from both sides, keeping mistakes to a minimum. Yankees this time able to turn Johnny May, who is very tight to that touchline and has to turn and kick. South Africa will have the first set piece of the afternoon.
Well, impressive play, wasn't it? Both teams keeping the ball in hand a fair little bit, going through the phases a little bit. South Africa maybe more effective, less risk for them because they are playing inside the England half. But certainly, as we expected, a lot of kicking from both number 9s.
Early line-out take for Dwayne Vermeulen, and Glenn Jackson has his arm out for an advantage. Vermeulen was not allowed to come to ground before he was played by England.
Too early.
He's been huge for South Africa, Dwayne Vermeulen, on his return. 3 massive test matches in a row now. And this afternoon, obviously a lot will be asked of him. These are conditions that suit the big fella. Wet and muddy. He's got the physical strength to drive forward and, well, not allowed to come back down to ground. South Africa probably pushed on the lifters more so than on the jumpers and being awarded the penalty.
Rightly so from England last weekend. They've battled in stopping the driving wall of South Africa, so they want to make sure that the tight five South Africa don't get to go forward. They got in Bloemfontein.
Typical kicking conditions, and I know it's slippery and wet underfoot, and as much as this field has a synthetic underlay, it still does get a little slippery, as we saw, and most importantly for the kickers, it's the planting foot that is the issue. It's about, for Elton Jantjies, it's about that right foot of his not slipping out and allowing him to make a clean strike with the left.
It is a fantastic kicking record, 80% at test match level for Elton Jantjies, 210 points. 10 of those coming through 2 tries, so 200 in Test rugby from the boot. And this to get South Africa ahead in the 3rd and final Test. And away, Ben O'Keefe and Romain Poit just having a little glance at each other as it passed the left-hand upright.
It was just a little tentative, wasn't it? You could just see by the way he looked after it. He maybe not fully committed to the conditions and just pushed it out to the left.
Owen Farrell with a deep 22-meter restart, and Kalant setting off on a counter. He was looking for Peter Steph du Toit, found Henry Slade, and goes to the boot. Jesse Creel now can't get away from Curry. Another penalty advantage for South Africa. It was against Carl Sinclair.
Well, both teams clearly have it in their minds that the first option is to kick. The ball of Henry Slade, first thing he did was look to see how far downfield he could kick it. Kalanto, on the other hand, tried to just get play going a little bit. And this is where Sinclair's off his feet. He's not entitled to play the ball. In fact, he's got to roll away now, and he hasn't made any move at all to try and get out of there.
Right, I've told you what's happening. They're doing their job. You need to come here. Okay, well done, England.
Those numbers really favour South Africa with 4 line-out options.
Mostert with the take this time. Second accurate throw from Ralapele. Quickly in to good form, and arguably the most important part of his job as the South African hooker this afternoon. Now he's driven back off the back of the maul, does well to recycle that ball. Peter Steph du Toit waits for the pick and drive.
Play on.
Piling through onto him, so South Africa losing a bit of ground from that line out. Snyman tasked with clawing some of those meters back. Good low tackle from Sinclair on Mtawarira. Now Jantjies just nudging it forward onto Johnny May. Esterhuizen can't make the tackle, neither could Mostert. And it was Chili Boy Ralapele who eventually managed to bring down Johnny May. Now Owen Farrell's kick deep into Springbok territory.
Don't move, Green!
And Jantjies inside for de Klerk, whose clearance doesn't find touch. May, Brown. Strong tackle from du Toit, but out the back for Ben Youngs. Johnny May. Incredibly high work rate. Dwayne Vermeulen initially latched onto the ball, then called off it by the referee. Sinclair on for it. Toje. Another good tackle from Ralapele.
Advantage 2, slowing it down.
And then Cipriani.
Number 2, get your hands off it. Slowing the ball
And the
down.
penalty goes against Ralapele after he had made an effective back tackle. England now with a kickable penalty.
On Murray, Toja finding a little bit of space there and almost getting away. Good little slip of the hand, a nice slide pass to him.
The credit must go to England's defence, stopping South Africa's maul, not allowing South Africa to get the go forward. Now England the attack, making good decisions, Joel. You touched on that, but initially it all started from defensively putting South Africa, shutting South Africa out.
And that is maybe the advantage England will have, Owen, here in these wet, damp conditions. Much more accustomed to playing in those conditions in the UK. They'll know and understand the limitations of passing, picking and going, the momentum required around the fringes. They take the space quickly. They come up and they're making their one-on-one tackles, pushing South Africa back a little bit. And this man will understand the kicking conditions extremely well. He is kicking into somewhat of a breeze, certainly gusting and blowing from the South African side a little bit earlier.
Farrell. And the flags are up for Owen Farrell. Takes his tally in this series to 21. He got 16 in Johannesburg, just the one conversion of a try in Bloemfontein a week ago. But now has England in front. Johnny May sidestepping his way past Esterhuizen. Mostert and Tawarida in to make the tackle.
Use it!
There's a strong counter ruck through the middle from Sia Kolisi, went right past the ball and past Ben Youngs, who now gets the opportunity to clear.
Well, in these tight games, you look to your loose forwards to clear out well. Sia Kolisi has been a tiger in the tight loose. He's cleaned out unbelievably well on a number of occasions.
Backwards.
And backwards off England. Francois Herbert quick
now.
to get through onto Johnny May.
Stay onside.
England have rescued this. Ooh, flicked on.
Offside, hungry.
Well, the offside call is against the Springboks. And a let-off for England there. They're putting themselves under a bit of pressure deep in their own 22.
A little risky, wasn't it? A little risky, very brave. Sometimes luck favours the bold. And luck favouring England this time round as the penalty has been ordered. Glenn Jackson is one of the referees who might understand and know these conditions really well coming out of New Zealand, and needs to have a good game, not for his own sake, but for the reputation of all referees, as we see where this penalty comes. Just a little quick out the blocks where the SA defence. Refereeing down in New Zealand and Australia has been highly criticised, to say the least.
First line-out opportunity for Jamie George finds Joe Launchbury. As England get their maul going, and Young sniping and away for Johnny May. Some brilliant cover defensive work from Peter Steph Totoya to get back and secure that ball on the ground.
Use it!
And not as organised as they would want to be here as Faf de Klerk shapes to clear. Nathan Hughes well positioned and draws a defender before making his pass. Mike Brown just losing his footing, and Dwayne Vermeulen's attempt over the ball unsuccessful. Cipriani that went forward off the hands of Curry.
Oh, it's tough conditions. They are very tough indeed, these conditions. Cipriani just trying to slip this beyond the first ball carrier. And Curry puts a hand out and then tries to leave it. Slade was well covered anyway by the South African defence. Interesting reading during the week. Billy LaRue saying he learned a lot from Danny Cipriani when he first arrived at Wasps about the running lines, as we just look at the weight of the front three. Both sides very even. England maybe a tad heavier in that second row, and South Africa a tad heavier in the back row. But Cipriani, renowned for his ability to just understand the running lines, pick the pass, pop it into space, or run that space himself.
that in. Yep, good scrum.
Yeah, Glenn Jackson's happy with that engagement, just the conditions contributing to the slip. And credit must go to all players. Took 13 minutes for the first knock on. We've mentioned the conditions. There's a slip, nothing to it really.
Yeah, and Rowan, you did right. Credit to the players that the conditions are tough, and we don't want to keep on harping about how difficult they are. But it is so difficult to play a wide, spread-out game when it is slippery and the ball is as damp and wet and hard to handle as it is today.
Backwards,
Good scrum from
backwards.
Marler.
And de Klerk under a little bit of pressure as he got his pass away to Jantjies. Test for Brown here. And Esterhuizen clattering into Mike Brown, who does well on the ground. That ball squirting out to the back of the England ruck. It was very well handled by Maro Itoje, but the reason it came out is that it was illegally kicked out of the ruck.
Khaleesi, the man who's penalised here. Yeah, and he's kicked it. Well, the other thing that is quite interesting, England, who based themselves in Durban the first 2 weeks of their tour, will not have the effect of any altitude issues this time around in Cape Town. Damp conditions, they might thrive in these circumstances here at Newlands today.
What a steal from Pieter-Steph du Toit off an England throw. Jantjies, Esterhuizen, and Jesse Creel goes to the boot.
It's going to be all about territory today, and South Africa know it. Rassie Erasmus is no fool when it comes to tactics. Clearly in the mind as we see Curry make a little bit of late contact there with Elton Jantjies, not too much in it. Elton's up and about, a dive that might remind us of some of the action at Soccer World Cup at the moment.
Itoje under some pressure from Snyman. Sinclair has some work to do. Now it's Mike Brown's turn to chase down the kick. And of course he couldn't hang on, lost forward by him. Just a knock-on advantage as Youngs goes to the boot. Advantage called over, and Gelant with a little bit of space here. Does brilliantly through the tackle of Henry Slade. Jantjies. Vermeulen. Head down into contact.
First man on the ball, no problem.
And the steal is good
Scrum.
at first
No problem.
from England,
It's still
and then
going
lost forward.
I can't play on. On the ball, turn over, but Green going
Was
forward.
Joe Launchbury in there or Chris Robshaw?
I was happy to turn it over.
That is a great kick, great piece of work from England. And just as good was Gelant. Not only the quick feet, but the power as well to brush away Slade.
Well, what is impressive is that just that little step that makes sure he takes the tackle on his own terms as opposed to the tackler making it on his terms. Slade had no answer to the strong body position of Warwick Gelant.
Crouch! Bind! Sit!
Solid from both packs as Vermeulen picks up off the back and goes to de Klerk. They went behind Gelant, and Nkosi slipping as he went back to get it. Du Toit. Itoje quickly up
Stay onside.
to cut down Pieter-Steph du Toit.
Just a bit static, wasn't he?
Brown under pressure from Nkosi. Strong counter-ruck from the Springbok captain. And brings the penalty for hands in from England. Gets a huge cheer from the grandstand at Newlands.
Well, brilliant stuff from the Springbok captain, Siya Kolisi. The beast was in there as well. Counter-rucking. Over they went, won the penalty. And that's a very good kick indeed from Elton Jantjies. It's a great kick. Look at this. It's a good take from Mike Brown. The first part of his move was perfect, tidied up well. And then comes Siya Kolisi, clears the first man out, frees up the space for the next South African forwards to go over the top. Mike Brown handles it for the second time on the ground, not allowed to. Penalty, South Africa.
And some brilliant maul defence there from England. Mostert the target at the line-out, couldn't get the transfer over the top of his teammates that he was looking for, and England forcing the knock-on and gaining the scrum.
Yeah, the important thing when you do the transfer, you got to absorb that pressure first to create the vacuum you're searching for. So when it's rushed from the top with that, England hit both parts, and they were lucky enough because there was no passion in the transfer from South Africa.
There's timely intervention in terms of defence from England as well. It's been a good control of position, one might say. The Springboks have really managed the territorial game pretty well so far. Possession about the same, territory just marginally ahead from South Africa, but it does seem they've played a lot of the game down here.
And Hughes off the back and driven backwards in the tackle by Faf de Klerk. An unfair weight contest if ever there was one. The diminutive Faf de Klerk on the 115-kilogram frame of Nathan Hughes. England scramble away well, but some superb pressure from the Springbok scrum half.
Well, it's about two things here. It's about heart, it's about desire, and it's about body position at the end of the day. Faf de Klerk showed tremendous guts, tremendous heart there, driving the big man better. He got down low, body position was good, the leg drive was solid, great tackle.
This time Kolisi breaking away from the maul. Esterhuizen in the midfield. Strong tackle from Curry, an important tackle.
Tackle!
Vermeulen sets it early for de Klerk. It's not a good pass. Brilliant pickup from Esterhuizen. Kolisi. And now Malherbe put into a little half gap by the Mostert pass.
Number one throwing the ball.
And Joe Marler getting the credit there for getting in over the ball and winning the turnover.
Well, how timely is that for England? South Africa pressing, going through the phases, as difficult as it is, and a beautiful little, that's not out, beautiful little pop pass it was from Mostert.
And Galant's kick skewing off the side of his boot, so not too much damage done for Owen Farrell by missing touch. He's effectively got a line out down on South Africa's 10-metre line.
Yeah, a little bit lucky. The wind and Owen might be better suited to tell us, but it does swirl a little bit off the stand. Farrell's kick looked like it was going out. Galant was 2 or 3 metres off the field, moved back in as the wind just shifted it back into the field of play.
Yeah, Joel, at the moment there's just not much movement in terms of the wind's quite still.
Cipriani for Nathan Hughes in the midfield. Kolisi cleaned off the ball. And they come left. Farrell, Cipriani looping around, Daly into the line. Beautiful pass for Brown. And the turnover good for South Africa, and Faf de Klerk with a clearance kick to touch.
Well, nice little slick bit of handling again from England's back. Cipriani with a real bit of subtlety in the way he shifted that ball around. Brown carried it forward strongly as we expect. Elton couldn't hang on, and then came the little turnover. That's a brilliant steal from Zbu Nkosi. Well, he does come. He's a big man, Mike Brown, and he does come with momentum and pace, and his body position was good. Elton Jantjies just caught rocking a little bit onto that left side, onto the back foot.
Contrasting styles, what you saw the first 2 test matches. And conditions have contributed, but England will be happy the fact that managing the mini battles close by, the rucks, they're controlling that, they're winning quite the ball, they're getting the go forward.
Well, a couple of deep breaths there for Dwayne Vermeulen. He's at the end of a long season, as are the English players, but boy, it's actually been Willie Leroux, Faf de Klerk, and that man Dwayne Vermeulen, the players plying their trade overseas, who've been absolutely outstanding so far in this series. And a great series it has been. A young South African team growing in stature under great young leadership.
5-man line out for England. Itoje, the receiver. Hughes, the big carrier in the midfield. Itoje again. Ben Youngs is just pulling the strings here. Lots of little pop passes off the base of rucks for big forwards, but that ball going forward in contact. Tidied up for the Springboks by Jesse Creel. Just the scrum advantage.
Stay on! Advantage over.
And as Faf de Klerk kicks, advantage is called over.
Knock on, Green.
Lost forward off the hands of Chiliboy Ralapela, who'd gone beyond the ball, but it was tapped back by England, so not offside.
Yeah, good appreciation of the laws from Chiliboy Ralapela, understanding that he's allowed to get there, expecting a possible tap backwards, just unable to regather.
Good scrums.
Well, a couple of instructions coming onto the field. Elliot Daly made his way across the touchline, got a little call from one of the England players. In fact, I've got a feeling it was George Forward who was passing on a little bit of advice. And on the back of that advice, it's Mike Brown and Daly who've moved all the way over to this touchline. Expected a little cross kick from Cipriani.
South African scrum's been good defensive to the big left shoulder. We've got the previous scrum allowing Faf de Klerk get on the front foot to get Nathan Hughes.
Just keep the gap. No, it was the gap. No, this side didn't. Come this way, boys. Work hard on the space, you two.
Let's go, eh?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yes, Sig. Yes, Sig. Next job.
Frans Malherbe on his near side, winning his 19th Test cap here this evening on his home ground.
Bind! Sit!
Not part of the first Test.
Yeah, good call from Glenn Jackson. Hit and chase from South Africa.
And a quick tap and go from the free kick. Not surprising that it finds its way into the hands of Nathan Hughes pretty quickly either, nor those of Kyle Sinclair. Here is Cipriani, little switch for Daly. Slipped away from Franco Mostert. Now Farrell's cross kick for May with a bit of space to work with. Such an elusive stepper. Scored some brilliant tries in this series so far.
Lost!
To the short side goes Ben Youngs. And tapped up by Apiwe Dianchi. Kolisi. And England win the penalty. They're doing a really good job at the breakdown. This time it was 20-year-old Tom Curry who was over the ball after the tackle on Kolisi.
Well, it's an area of the game they've been very good at so far this evening. Joe Marler's won a couple of penalties. Tom Curry now there with hands on ball.
On the 5.
Into the hands of Elliot Daly. Is he going to pop it down to the corner there? Tough angle to kick for goal. Tough angle into the wind, and that is a tough angle to find touch by the look of things. It's a bad mistake from Elliot Daly. Faf de Klerk having a little word with Glenn Jackson. Boy, he's made a couple of great tackles so far this evening, Faf de Klerk, as we see the intercept from Apiwe Dianchi and into the hands of Siya Kolisi, who is just the most phenomenal workhorse. Support a little slow to get to him on that occasion, though.
Crouch! Bind! Sit!
Great hit from England.
A wonderful battle on this near side, Owen, from Joe Marler and Frans Malherbe.
Yeah, very good recovery from Frans Malherbe.
Unusually no way through for Dwayne Vermeulen. Mostert now. Yankees on to Johnny May. Mike Brown. There's so much rugby at fullback back there to help his fellow winger.
Stay on. Ball's out.
Youngs. George.
Lost.
Now Kelly, a more offensive role. He's been so good at the breakdown so far. Young shapes to kick once again. Gelant into the air early, but Brown timing his tackle perfectly. Snyman gets a chance to carry. The offload for Jesse Creel. Not really the conditions for those. Here's Cipriani. Off the side of the boot now. Yankees will look for space. Is that carrying too far? It is. It's a big opportunity for South Africa there.
Well, in these conditions, it's all about the territory, and both teams trying to play that territorial game, and an opportunity for Elton Yankees just to get that down the far side of the field, force England back. England have had the last 4 or 5 minutes down inside the South African half, and just not able to keep it in the field of play. Elton Yankees got a little gash on his cheek there from that hit he took from Mike Brown a bit earlier.
You must be said as well, Joe Marler together with Carl Sinclair. Very good start from the prop forwards of England in terms of the set piece and also the tight loose play, the pick up and drive, the making the tackles quite close to the ruck. The contribution has been immense.
Yeah, there were those who believed that Joe Marler should have been playing from the first test.
Launchbury manages to get an arm up to tap that back. Nathan Hughes taken down hard in the tackle, but quick ball nevertheless for Ben Youngs, lost forward by May. Mostert hands it on for Yankees. Gelant up from fullback, and here is Jesse Creel with Nkosi to his right. Nkosi onto the boot. Back goes Johnny May for England, hunted down by Creel and de Klerk, but Johnny May gets away.
That is outstanding from Johnny May.
Some brilliant defensive work. We've seen how this man can attack, but he was being hunted from all quarters and managed to come up with a clearance kick.
Well, that is sensational. It was great play as well from the South African backs. Gelant initially, Creel then timed his pass perfectly. The kick ahead was the right option. Okay. But how did Johnny May manage to get England out of trouble there? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I think you've also got to give credit, just having looked at that replay, to the defensive decision made by Mike Brown. Could have committed, but instead just waited for that pass to go to Sbu Nkosi and eventually forced him to kick by drifting out.
Yeah, timed his shift to perfection. The experience of a man who's playing his 72nd test today. He did nothing wrong. Sbu Nkosi, timing of the pass to him from Jesse Creel was spot on. The conditions not in his favour. Put the kick through, and but for the brilliant work of Johnny May, he would have been in.
Bind! Sit!
Oh, it's a deep scrum, gentlemen.
Rock solid again, Yankees, and then Kolisi peeling around into the half gap.
Maul!
And a maul called as Tom Curry held Siya Kolisi up, and it's England who get the scrum. The Springbok captain was desperately trying to get a leg onto the ground to create the tackle.
Yeah, Tom Curry worked his socks off there to keep Siya Kolisi off the ground. It was a clever little move from South Africa, just trying to get the bigger Siya Kolisi running into the fly of channel of England, into Danny Cipriani, maybe even Owen Farrell. And just look at this. Curry comes across, gets in there to help Cipriani, gets a hand on Khaleesi and holds him up. He gets a bit of help from Nathan Hughes. Cipriani is obviously staying in there, but great strength from the young and up-and-coming Tom Curry. Well, turnovers 1 for England, 6. That right now is the difference between these two sides.
Sit!
Hughes off the back for Ben Youngs to make a clearance kick, which he does all the way down into South African territory. Brilliant.
Great kick. Nathan Hughes has got a different demeanor, doesn't he? He looks really casual and really relaxed. He's a big man. Sometimes his body position is maybe a little upright, but that number 8 is filling in, and he's doing a very good job indeed.
Who's in?
Of course, Vunipola home with a recurring arming injury.
From Ireland under pressure, so forced to tap back. Snyman did well, then de Toy. De Klerk. The Yankees lost it forward, towed through by Maro Itoje and Rob Shaw. Youngs and Farrell.
Charge down, play on.
Charged down by Khaleesi. Regathered by Youngs for Mike Brown.
Stay on.
George and Franco Mostert went really low.
Leave it now.
Sinclair. Yet another textbook tackle from Franco Mostert. Marla. Ralapella trying to get his way out of there, but there's an advantage being shown for England. It's a penalty advantage. Youngs with the stab across.
Number 2 roll.
And the penalty is against Ralapella.
Well, he was flapping his arms trying to get out of there, Chili Boy, but judged by Glenn Jackson not to have made a genuine effort to move away. Did seem a little bit trapped on first glance.
If he falls there, it's his responsibility to get out. He didn't get out. Shot.
Well, there you have it. If you fall there, you've got to get away. It's your own responsibility. Good strong defence from South Africa, and then Chili Boy Ralapella driving his legs over. Now he tries to get away, maybe a little late and difficult, to hemmed in and squashed by that point. Trapped.
So nothing like we've had in the first 2 tests. We've seen some sparkling tries from both sides during this series. This now just the second attempted goal for England. South Africa unsuccessful with 1 penalty attempt. And Farrell has made his second successful penalty. They've weathered a bit of a storm in their own half. Vast majority of this game, 85% of it played between the two 22s, as you'd expect in conditions like this. But South Africa have had their chances. England's defence and their work at the breakdown has snuffed them out. Rob Shaw captained his country 42 times. Left out last week for the New Zealand-born Brad Shields, who'd made his debut off the bench in Johannesburg, and with Shields available due to illness. Rob Shaw back in today. Another very good clearance kick from England.
That's a great kick from Ben Youngs. Brilliant kick. Just the hang time superb. Right on the edge of the line. Dwayne Vermeulen, as he tried to gather it, just nudged onto the line. Kicks often said to be as good as the chase. The chase from England was good as well.
Yeah, I'm just on 45 here, man. Starts in the middle. Back green, play on.
Good challenge from out here Snyman, but a great read as well from Joe Launchbury to get through and reclaim the ball for England.
Backwards, play on, off green. Right. Stay on.
Ball available for Faf de Klerk. And Hughes dropping back, but positioned himself well to lose it backwards if he did at all. Beautiful offload in the tackle for Brown, but then he loses it forward. And that's a crucial loss forward for South Africa's sake. The men away to his left here for Mike Brown.
Yeah, great play from Nathan Hughes. It's just a little hand in there from Jesse Creel that dislodges it. But Nathan Hughes, firstly, a lesson to the kids out there in wet and hard, tough conditions. When you feel the kick get side on, so when you do drop it or it slips through your hands, it goes backwards. Nathan Hughes regathered, made a good run and a brilliant offload.
Let's go. It's not time off.
Strong defense as well from Jesse Creel as he came up intelligently, trying to get a hand on that ball in the hands of Mike Brown, knocking it out.
Who's that?
South Africa's going to find a way to get the tight 5 in the game. Maybe just build a bit of scoreboard pressure to pick up and drive, keep it closer, and just force England to make the penalty. And with that, get a shot at goal just before half-time.
Bind! Sit! It's been hooked. Out, ball's out. Hands are on.
De Klerk, Esterhuizen. Got Cipriani out of his path. Now Tawarira.
No four!
Some brilliant work on the ground there from Kolisi, Robshaw and Vermeulen at each other's throats in the midfield. Tutoy smashed into the tackle of Itoje. Now on Corsi. There's a good pass from Galanten, and Corsi
Stay on side.
away from the touchline does well. Malherbe with the drive. Now Yankees, Snyman.
Advantage, off feet. Off feet.
Here's a penalty advantage for the Springboks. With the hooter about to sound, the cross kick from de Klerk and Corsi. And ripped away by Tawarira. That's gone forward off the beast.
Off feet.
And they'll come back for a penalty in front of the post about 30 metres out to end the half.
Off feet wide. Shot.
Well, at times South Africa have been a little static in the way the runners have come forward, maybe not with tremendous momentum. Once or twice met well, tackle behind the gain line. But this time round, a couple of stronger runs got them on the go forward. They've won the penalty as the beast couldn't hang on as the tackle from Carl Sinclair came in. This man here just continues to impress. Zbu and Corsi chasing hard, jumping up there, winning the ball, transferring it back to the beast. Oh, the beautiful old lady of South African rugby, Newlands Rugby Ground. There is talk of an imminent move. To Owen and Kimani's point a couple minutes ago, this is a vital kick now, just on the brink of half-time. Get some points on the board, close that gap. Any point in a test match such as this, in such tough conditions, is absolutely vital.
He had a shot at goal before Owen Farrell had his first. Elton Yankees, that one passing just left of the uprights. Just to get back within 3 on the stroke of half-time. It's an excellent strike from Yankees. The flags are up. And it was always expected to be a very tightly contested affair, a brutal forward battle. It has proved to be that, with just 2 penalties from the boot of Owen Farrell, 1 from Elton Yankees. Half-time at Newlands, South Africa 3, England 6.
Hasn't been the kind of half that we've seen in the last 2 matches, but of course with the weather being the way it was, it's wet under field, and that means the kicking game has really come into the fore. Antwa, what do you make of that first half?
I think it's exactly what we expected. We knew it was going to be a very ugly game, and I think, you know, the English has obviously adapted much better than we have. At ruck time, we've turned a lot of ball over, and I feel like our kicking is a bit too far, where we're not putting them under pressure, rather them running at us. So if you can fix those 2 things, and then we should be okay in the second half.
And they're certainly getting those turnovers as well.
Yes, which is making things tough for us, and it's becoming a stop-start. You know, you can't build any momentum. So if we can just make sure we clean our racks and then keep the building on them, and then the second half should be better.
Well, it is going to be an interesting 40 seconds, and it is 6-3 to England at half-time. Our first half analysis is up next.
Here at Newlands, a low-scoring match. It was to be, it was expected because of the conditions. Just two penalties by Owen Farrell, one by Alton Yankees. We expected a kicking game, and they employed it early on, John. We saw a couple of little kicks go and a couple of up and unders. The team seemed to be testing each other out quite early on.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think it's missed opportunities by South Africa, I suppose, not getting that kick, and then also just limiting yourself in terms of mistakes. There has been a lot of mistakes from both teams, and I suppose in the second half it'll all come down to if you can play in the right areas, and as we will be seeing now with the kicks that have gone in, if you can play in the right areas and how you can capitalize on that with the limited amount of opportunities that you will get.
Right, well, Faf de Klerk was absolutely crucial kicking these little box kicks last week. He's been employing the box kicks again, has Faf, but maybe not as accurate as last weekend.
Faf is, it's not going to be easy for either. Ben Youngs has had the best of that battle, bit more experience. Faf actually, that was a big question mark when he came here back from Sale, that his running ability, unquestionable. His attack, his mind there is spot on. But his kicking can be a bit, 50-50, not so positive. And with Yankees as well, that South Africa aren't really controlling or winning the kicking battle at the moment.
The line-out contestation is quite interesting. Both teams are contesting. Obviously, they're sniffing an opportunity.
Yeah, I think certainly Itoje was renowned for this. His combination with England when Cruz was playing with him as Saracen's partner, that worked brilliantly. He's nicked one or two, but also South Africa are making it a really tough competition. And the combinations of the hooker and the jumpers has got to be spot on, otherwise we're going to see more of this happening.
I think what's important there as well, you want to be contesting, but once you start slapping the ball, as we saw there a couple of times, it actually puts more pressure on the team winning that turnover ball. So you almost have to be able to take the ball cleanly and then set up a phase from there. Otherwise, you do put yourself under pressure. But it's a game of inches, this one. You know, it comes down to a bit of luck, playing in the right areas, and hopefully get an opportunity to score a try.
Every time they're doing their working out, because we always used to, as backs, we used to moan and look at the forwards. Oh, look at them taking it easy doing the line out. But they've got to nail that. And with these slippery conditions, it's hard for the hooker and it's hard for the jumpers, even the lifters. Everything's greasy, everything's slippery.
Creating luck, England continue to create their luck on attack. The wide players have had a ball during this tour.
Yeah, they have been able to exploit us out wide, and here's another example of that, where they have the ability to take it to the line, forcing some of our players to step out of line, and then creating the overlap. I thought we eventually handled that well, being able to shift off, and we still had the fullback defender there at the back. So again, it's being able to manipulate the defense and then create opportunities. But this game is also very much about work rate, putting in the work off the ball, and we've seen that from England as well, especially a guy like Johnny May has got the ability to work off the ball, and who basically helped save an almost certain try from South Africa.
Yeah, I think England have had the better attacking opportunities and have created it. Ben Youngs down the short side, that move with Cipriani when he doubled back and created space. But we've talked about wingers having a field day in the first couple of games, particularly the first one, scoring tries. And then you've also got to do the graft. You've got to work. You've got to get back and help in defence. Highlight Johnny May there. That's where he is at the breakdown. South Africa are on the move and in great position here. And Krill must have been licking his chops here. Draw the last defender, make the pass, and it's a try for South Africa. But unfortunately, he passes a little bit too early, and Brown has got across. But look at Johnny May. I mean, he's quick in attack, he's quick in defence, and they certainly needed him there. I was shouting from the stands, kick, 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 and eventually he did and got it out. But great work by the young man. He's scored some brilliant tries, and he's been like a Duracell bunny, just getting around everywhere and working incredibly hard. I mean, he's a guy who's not guaranteed his position, so he's playing in a way that's saying to Eddie, you can't drop me. I know Jack Knowles back there waiting, Anthony Watson waiting to come back as well, but I'm playing this well. Are you going to drop me playing this well? So fair play to him.
Absolutely. Jean, very little that the teams can change going into that second half. What would Rassie Erasmus be telling his charges now?
Well, look, at such difficult conditions, you know, to have ball in hand, really, you almost want the opposition to have the ball. And you want guys like this. We're looking at the stats from Johnny May there. You want those kind of stats. It's not a lot of stats where you've got ball in hand and being able to do something there. It's the work off the ball that'll count. And in the second half for South Africa, it will be the same as well. They need to improve their kicking game. They need to play in the right area, and they haven't been able to do that. If you're South Africa, you want to be playing on this side of the field most of the second half. Then put a bit of pressure on England, hopefully force mistakes, and hopefully you can capitalize on that, scoring points.
Jeremy, same question to you. What would Eddie Jones be telling his charges at halftime?
Don't let the lead slip again. I mean, it's only 3 points this time. They've had 12 points and 20-odd points. This time, they got their tactics right. The forwards are making the tackles. Their discipline right up until that last minute has been spot on. I think they'd only given away 2 or 3 penalties. So they'd be disappointed they let South Africa come back into it with that cheap, easy penalty that allowed South Africa to knock it over and come within 3. So more of the same, bit more work rate, and then it's down to the bench. Which bench comes off and comes onto the field and makes the impact.
One more point that I would like to make is that the conditions already better. Underfoot already a little bit dry. We might just see a little bit more in the second half.
Well, there's also attritional at the breakdown road to expecting just a tighter second half as we've seen in the first.
At Newlands in the third and final test match of the series. England leads South Africa by 6 points to 3. Owen Nkumani is with Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus.
Rassie is 3 points down. How do you win this game?
Yeah, I think discipline, you know, if you concede stupid penalties at the breakdown, which was penalties, you know, you're going to lose a game like this. So hopefully the second half that comes right. And then when you get that 1 or 2 opportunities where you could have scored a try, you must finish that. So hopefully second half, 1 or 2 opportunities you must finish, and discipline at the breakdown, because Glenn is pretty tough at the breakdown at this stage on us.
Talk about the kicking game. Are you happy with it?
I think the plan is right. We're not so accurate, and I think we can be more efficient, but I think the plan is there. I think the execution can up a little bit.
Has this group got what it takes?
Yes, definitely.
All the best.
Thanks, coach. Yes.
So Rassie Erasmus asks from his team what Eddie Jones has been asking after the first 2 tests. Improvement of discipline, especially at the breakdown. There have been a couple of important turnovers won by England, most notably by young Tom Curry in that area.
Stay on side here.
In the territory game, all important.
Use it!
2 penalties to 1 in the first half. De Klerk kicking very tight to that touchline. And a strong tackle to open the second half by Zbu Nkosi on Mike Brown. But England are looking after the ball pretty well in contact.
Do not push it into him.
Especially when fielding
Stay on.
South Africa's kicks. Ben Youngs testing Yankees. That's lost forward. It's a second knock on. One off a kick. One off a pass from Elton Yankees.
We're going to play slow ball. They'll push you into the tackle. So you're just creating yourself slow ball.
Oh, it's just one you won't want to see again, really. It's gone straight through. It is tough conditions. So early wind up there. But Elton Yankees will know he's got to be gathering those. Maybe just turning his body sideways on, as Nathan Hughes showed a little bit earlier from those up and unders. What it does mean is England have a good attacking position. There's a little word there from Glenn Jackson to Owen Farrell about pushing the ball into players, trying to force an undeserved penalty. Almost at the breakdown or at the tackle.
Sit!
Yes, South Africa's going to also be very wary of pushing early at scrum time. And penalise the free kick in that first half.
Joe Marler, 59th cap today. against Francois Herbert. It's a titanic battle on that side of the scrum. Hard as nails, both those men.
Bind! Sit!
Well, big scrum.
A real change in angle there, wasn't there? No doubt we'll see it again. The Beast shakes his head. Carl Sinclair smiles. Riley, he's won the penalty.
Close.
No doubt Owen Farrell had a shot at goal. For me, there's a little change in angle here. I'm not sure who takes it in, but it goes in inwards and then the Beast goes down. He's got nowhere else to go.
Well, Sinclair, that wry smile tells it all. Also picked up a bit of the angle, didn't offer the Beast much contest on that outside channel.
Well, I thought it was the fly phone. I'll leave you to describe that, but that's what I was thinking. It just looked to me that the Beast was a little hard done by there.
So Owen Farrell. It's a third penalty attempt of the evening. Watching it anxiously, but there was no need. Flags are up. It's 3 out of 3 for the England captain, who is looking for his first win as an England captain. He was captain against France in the Six Nations, and the first 2 tests against the Springboks in this series. 3 changes, Owen.
Yeah, 3 big changes up front. Skull Brits for early's 11th test match. Stephen Kitsoff, Thomas du Toit been outstanding in this series coming off the bench. But a solid innings, must be said, from Frans Malherbe, Chileboy Rolapel and Tendai Taurira. Starters for the Springbok pack.
Daly claims the restart and immediately goes to that railway stand touchline off the left boot.
Threading the needle to get that kick away. The pressure was good from the Springboks. And of course, when you're 9 points to 3 up territorially, there's only one place you want to play the game, and that is nowhere near your side of the field. As we see the excited face of Skulper, it's great to see him back in green and gold. What can he add today in conditions that might not suit his loose stepping style of rugby?
Well, the first throw going to hand for Franco Mostert. Kolisi out the back. Esterhuizen for Creel. And chasing back was Owen Farrell to make the tackle. De Klerk thought about the short side, but then went to Kitsoff. And Kitsoff making some good headway. On to Thomas du Toit. Flat ball for Galant. And another one for Jesse Creel. Kitsoff this time out the back for Yankees. Mostert trying to bash a hole through England's midfield. Kitsoff with a pick and drive through the middle. Now Galant chips it through for Creel! And Creel drops down for the score! Well, they made it look pretty simple in the end. Warwick Galant popping up as the first receiver from the ruck. No one sweeping in the England defence. And Creel with plenty of time.
Plenty of time and loads of numbers out wide. The read was good. Jesse Creel was patient, waited for it to sit up nicely, gathered and scored. But what is most impressive about this try is the build-up. A couple of real strong carries from the South African pack of forwards. Front foot ball. Galant involved a couple of times in really pushing those guys to come on at pace. Pace they came with, forward momentum, and then the very educated little left-footed grabber from the Springbok fullback, finding a bit of space in behind. England no more defenders than the first try of the game. A real beauty in tough conditions.
Yeah, one of the differences compared to the previous play from the South Africans, all the runners were running forward. Nobody who started from a standing still. Made it difficult for English defenders to pick the right man to make that solid hit.
Well, a 9th try in Test rugby for Jesse Creel in his 32nd Test, his first against England. Came off the bench for his first cap against England last week, now getting a first start. Elton Yankees now with a kick. 5 metres in from the left-hand touchline. to put South Africa in front for the first time in the game. Yankees has absolutely nailed it through the middle.
Brilliantly done, superb touch from Galantu's teammate Jesse Creel. A good finish. One way of getting behind defensive lines, a little grabber kick, turning them. And that time around, a well-weighted kick from the Springbok fullback Warwick Galant. Touchdown, Jesse Creel.
Dwayne Vermeulen claims the restart. There's a change for England at tight head. Harry Williams on in jersey number 18 for Kyle Sinclair. The cross kick from Yankees finds his Lions teammate Piwet Yankee. Galant again popping up as his first receiver at ruck time. Gets a knee on the ground. Peter Steph-Toy ducking low into the tackle. And Robshaw
15 in the side.
Trying to get in
the 15 in the side.
Over the ball, and then it was the unlikely figure of Warwick Galant who was penalised for coming in from the side of the ruck.
Shot.
Well, it's a huge contest on the floor. Every single breakdown, every ruck, every tackle, and Galant trying to do his part there and penalised. It's a strong defence again from Joe Marley. He's come up, he's made sure Peter Steph-Toy doesn't get any go forward, and oh, you can see clearly there that Warwick Galant dived in from the side. And it does mean Owen Farrell has a shot to get England back in front.
Yeah, another reason for that, Joel, you see players of the breakdown point, South African players going to a so-called pre-start positions, nobody looking where they need to hit, where they need immediate attention. Jesse Creel much bigger immediately. He goes, this is where they're playing, whatever system they're playing at the moment. So he's just to get to the midfield, yet the danger is right there. You've got to play towards the ball.
So after conceding the lead to South Africa for the first time, Owen Farrell with a chance to get England back in front with half an hour to play at Newlands. Well, he was very, very solid on that left foot as he planted it and raises the flags yet again. Any kick from around the 40-meter mark, really outstanding. Now watch for Warwick Galant there. Yeah, clearly in from the side, right in front of Glenn Jackson.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of experience. It's a young player, maybe not quite comfortable in that physical position in the forwards, having to do some of the donkey work and maybe just not getting it right on this occasion.
Daly stepped his way past a couple of defenders.
Stay on!
And now the ball is slow and pressured for Ben Youngs. Vermeulen lost forward by the big number 8. And England with a scrum advantage as they get it away for Nathan Hughes, who's been a prominent ball-carrying figure throughout. Cipriani away for Farrell. So useful for England to have that left and right boot combination. First kick for Willie Leroux. And now he gets it back, the Wasps fullback. Now he got his pass away for Youngs, and then May just caught up a little bit as he tried to make the chase. Leroux away for Yankees. And Mike Brown back. Galant, who's shifted to the wing, finds Leroux. And then Leroux's inside ball intercepted by Brown. Robshaw cut down in the tackle. Plenty of tests under the high ball early in this appearance for Willie Leroux. It's Nkosi who's made way for Willie Leroux, and Galant shifting away to the wing. That's where he started a test for the first time, Warwick Galant against Wales in Cardiff in December last year. Brown smashed by Stephen Kitsoff in the tackle.
15 offside.
But the call is against Warwick Galant.
15.
He kept advancing from in front of the kicker.
South Africa, just have to watch that discipline a little bit here. We've seen this man, boy, he can smash them. In the first test, he smashed one from 60 metres out and it had another 10 on it to go still. So he's going to have a shot from the side. Is Elliot Daly. In front of the kicker is Warwick Galant on the far side. And here is the tackle from Kitsoff. That's what you want. You want the big fellas getting there, smashing the backs backwards. Wilson makes his way on. It's Nathan Hughes who's going off. He's had a pretty decent game, Nathan Hughes. Good 52 minutes. He's been strong, subtle, skillful at times. Carried it up.
So the 28-year-old Mark Wilson of Newcastle gets a 4th test cap. Hughes making way, having started in place of the injured Billy Vunipola this week. Elliot Daly. Well, certainly plenty of distance on it, but across the face of the uprights. So dotted down by Billy LaRue for a 22-metre dropout. Yankees pressure on Itoje, but well handled by Daly. Brown.
Really, get out,
Great
guys.
contribution once again from Stephen Kitsoff coming off the bench.
Well, that was forward, yep, from Cipriani to Rob Shaw.
Timing a little bit off from Chris Robshaw. Real workhorse of a flanker. He's made 6 tackles, as you see this. Just marginal, actually. Robshaw took it behind him, but the pass was still forward.
Keep it, eh?
Amazing to think that this man's starting a test match for the first time in almost 10 years. The last one he started was against South Africa at Twickenham at the end of 2008. That resulted in a record win at Twickenham for South Africa, 42 points to 6. Before his appearance last week, Danny Cipriani had last played off the bench in 2015, so extraordinary comeback for him.
Now use it!
LaRue cuts out Esterhuizen to find Creel. And some really good cover work again from Mike Brown. Read the kick with ease and gets a beautiful bounce on the ball as well. Brilliant.
Well, that's experience for you, isn't it? Not just the positional play, but the ability to please the England supporters in their pink and blue jackets and kick a spiralling torpedo pass with the wind on that far side that has chased South Africa back all of 60, 70 metres.
Scott Brits gets it back from Berges Neyman. Speculative pass from Faf de Klerk into the midfield, puts Andre Esterhuizen under a bit of pressure.
Lost!
Kitsoff restores a little bit of stability with a carry.
Stay on here now.
Set up this angle for Yankees, who has a kick charge down. Launchbury. Tackle is from de Klerk. George. Another one driven back in the tackle by the South African defence. Farrell finds Daly to his outside.
Green.
And then the penalty goes against Faf de Klerk. So a slew of penalties for ill discipline on the part of the Springboks.
And in a game where the conditions are tough like this and every point is so valuable, these penalties are difficult to come back from, as we see some strong pressure coming through. The kick-off, Georgetown. Faf makes the first tackle and then comes through a little bit quickly, as you can see here. There he's offside. Ben Youngs realises there's a bit of space on that left-hand side, and England were almost able to make good use of it. 12 points to 10. Farrell back with the ball on the tee. Test matches, so often we talk about kicking your goals, taking your points. These conditions, certainly something you have to do. England have done it well. South Africa have had much fewer opportunities. They've got the only try of the game.
4 out of 5 for Owen Farrell.
Four out of 4 for Farrell.
Sorry, Daly was the miss, yeah. And again, the England captain has raised the flags and put England back into a 5-point lead with just over the final quarter of the game to play, and a couple more changes, Owen.
Yeah, big changes for Rassie Erasmus. Elton Yankees will give way for Andre Pollard. A big rule for Andre Pollard. And with Jean-Luc Dupré coming, there'll be a shuffle in the pack. Peter Steph du Toit move into lock, and Jean-Luc onto the side of the scrum.
Archie Snyman, the man to give way in the second row. Daly's clearance back towards his own 10-metre line. Another line-out throw for Schalk Brits, who now officially has become the second oldest Springbok. Only Victor Matfield, part of our broadcast team here today, has played for South Africa.
Okay, you're going backwards again.
At a more mature age, shall we say. De Klerk away for Leroux. Now here's Dianti lining up Johnny May. And then back towards Farrell and Cipriani. He's done well, has Dianti. Flat ball on the advantage line for Schalk Brits, who clatters into Tom Curry. Creel. Good clean out from Dianti, an important one, as Johnny May wanted to try and get in over the ball. Jean-Luc Dupré popping the ball up for Stephen Kitsoff, who clearly wasn't expecting it. And Ben Youngs makes the clearance. May up there to tap the ball back.
That's off from Green. Oh, sorry, wrong way. Yeah, sorry, my fault.
I thought Van Jackson had that wrong.
No. Sorry, penalty off.
Well, a little
16,
flip pass, the 50-50 chicken wing pass in tough conditions. In good conditions, it doesn't always go to hand. In tough conditions, it's maybe not the best option from Jean-Luc Dupré. You can understand the thinking, you can understand what he's trying to achieve. Kitsoff was coming at pace, but almost an impossible regather. No mistake this time from Farrell. Every time South Africa get down into England off, it's a little mistake. There's the little hand on it, touched by Schalk Brits, and then Faf de Klerk in an offside position.
And the steal from Vermeulen at the line-out. De Klerk's kick, though, gathered by Johnny May. Just can't keep him out of this game, this series. Youngs.
Stay on!
Back towards touch, but managing to work the ball to ground. Rob Shaw up for Mana.
Stay on.
And Lynchbury. Cipriani popping it inside for Jamie George. Two Saracens hookers on the field now, Jamie George and Schalk Brits.
Play on, play on. No effect.
And some common sense there from the referee,
Hands
not being drawn into the possibility of awarding a penalty for an obstruction. A bit of contact between the players, but no effect now. Back it comes for Owen Farrell for the drop goal. Well wide. And not even making it as far as the Springbok try line, and Pollard clears down towards halfway.
Well, there's less than 20 minutes left to this test match. South Africa needs to learn to manage the time coming up. It's great decision-making from the England captain. Let's go, Farrell. If it went over, it means South Africa's got to score twice.
Yeah, I think the chances of nailing it from their own or from a missed score. I think England were patient. They were going through the phases. As a result of attempting the near impossible, it's freed up Andre Pollard to clear it. First half of the half. I think to your point though, South Africa have got to find a way to conjure up some points now. They've got to get out of their own half. They've got to maybe take a chance and keep the ball in hand, be a little more patient, get some go forward and bring some speedy players into play.
Jean-Luc Dupré trying to get up in front of Itoje. England lock kept his composure. Jamie George controlling the drive at the tail. Again, Young's boot drops down just outside the Springbok 22. And Jantjie scored under the high ball. Thomas du Toit
inside.
This is where England have been so good. Every time the South Africa have had the ball, it's been right down on their 22.
And de Klerk will get it out for England to have a line out in almost an identical position to the previous one, but they're managing the territory well.
Managing time well as well. England, they just take a moment to regather themselves, make sure that their line-out call is clear and concise, and then the throw as accurate as possible. Great contest again from the Springboks.
And strong counter-rack as well from Dupré.
Stay on.
Youngs. And Jantjie went just a fraction too far, and Jamie George just really well positioned to gather the scraps. And Rob Shaw lining up the much smaller figure of Faf de Klerk, Launchbury. Johnny May. A little bit of indecision.
Stay on. Yeah, done it, Jada. Leave it now. Stay on.
Playing the game very much at their own pace here, England, and just over 15 minutes to play.
Ball's out.
Well, that ball was called out.
Leave it now. Leave it, Green.
But regathered by England after the pressure applied by Faf de Klerk. Mike Brown in there. Farrell. And very, very smart. Clever again from the England captain, just keeping South Africa pinned back in their own 22.
And it makes it so hard for the Springboks to get out of here. Their only real defensive way of exiting is a kick. To play in these conditions from 70 meters, 90 meters out and to score is going to be awfully tough, as we see. Another change, it's Sikambuzo Noche making his way on. Siya Kolisi makes his way off. He's had a wonderful afternoon, Siya Kolisi. Not an open game, not much opportunity to steal, but he has worked his socks off in the tight loose. He's been unbelievably strong and powerful at the ruck. Cleaned out, body on the line. Another great example by the Springbok captain.
Over.
And de Klerk initially under pressure from that tapped ball from Mostert. England not surprisingly contesting down there in Springbok territory. And now the scrum half pinned at the bottom of that ruck.
Backwards, backwards. Okay, ruck now.
Tidied up on the ground by Stephen Kitsoff.
Stay on, White! Stay on, White! Use it!
And England won't mind that at all, the clearance from Faf de Klerk. They get another set piece in the Springbok half.
And to be fair, it's the right thing, isn't it? There's still 14 minutes to go. South Africa, if they were to try and play from deep and make an error and concede more points, it would be catastrophic. You can see the kicking stats from both teams pretty similar. A couple more kicks from England, a couple more handling errors from South Africa.
Joe Lynchbury, I think they're claiming that he was perhaps played while still in the air. Young's now breaking away from England's maul. Farrell flung down by Andre Esterhuizen. Mark Wilson with the carry. Carry on for Launchbury. And Dwayne Vermeulen locking in over that ball and winning the turnover. Esterhuizen.
You need to look after possession, South Africa.
Offside.
Well, offside is the call against England, and this will give the Springboks an opportunity to kick down into England territory.
Well, tight games are defined by one or two little moments. Was that the moment? Dwayne Vermeulen, with England having the possession, having controlled territory and possession for the last few minutes. The big Springbok burly number 8 was in there to win the turnover. Look at this, it's a super tackle again from Mostert. Vermeulen hands on the ball, he's got it, he's cleaned out, but he takes it with him. He's getting a little bit of treatment now as a result, and there's the offside, but a brilliant steal from Dwayne Vermeulen.
Dwayne Vermeulen has remained down, receiving some medical attention. He's not part of the job anymore.
So the Springboks effectively at 14 men, and England defending them all. They have won it again.
Could this be the moment, Joel?
Well, it could be. It might be a number of moments. The Dwayne steal, the defence at the maul. Yeah, these are all little moments that influence the outcome of the game. Dwayne Vermeulen does seem to be limbering back to the side of the field where there's a bit of action, limping a little gingerly as we see the well-structured defence of the England maul, little upright. Well, he's got hands on the ball. Launchbury, for me, has just been monumentous this afternoon. He's burly second row, not the tallest bloke around, but he lays his physical strength right down on the line every chance he gets. There's some talk about him not lasting the 80 minutes last week. He's come through a couple of test matches here with flying colours high. So England will have the scrum. Johnny Mayers right down here on this near touchline, miles away from play, but quite possibly looking for that cross kick. Certainly drawing Billy LaRue across.
Stephen Kitsap needs a big scrum here.
Sit!
And this all suits England, doesn't it? Just winding down the clock a little bit. 11 minutes to go.
Keep it still, stable.
What South Africa will want to, and to your point, is to find some little way of putting in a huge effort in the scrum, getting their heads up, winning a penalty or turning the ball over and finding a platform to attack from.
Yeah.
5 penalties at the moment make up England's score, all kicked by their captain Owen Farrell. South Africa with the only try through Jesse Creel, converted by Elton Jantjies, who added another penalty.
Bind! Sit!
That is the scrum.
Well, it's against Stephen Kitsap.
Green one, backing off and in.
Tough call. Initial engagement, Harry Williams chased it. On the right-hand side, it settled down. Kitsap at the upper hand.
Well, it was the effort we wanted, wasn't it? It was trying to do the something special.
Joel, have a look
There's
at the
an angle
chase.
already.
Yeah, but the chase came initially from England, then South Africa came through. initial movement came from England, never got the right shoulder searching for. The only way, it was with Williams going in, and Kinsov chased him.
Stay open.
Peter Stephen-Toy went up early.
Use the ball!
But a fair set.
Use it!
Of the line out on Maro Itoje. Galant losing the ball forward. And Cipriani now with an opportunity. Johnny May chasing down into the in-goal area. Johnny May, I think, has got that down.
Boy, he's been outstanding tonight, Johnny May. He called for it. Glenn Jackson has gone straight to the try, not going upstairs. Johnny May called for it. Cipriani saw it, placed the kick. I thought he may have overcooked it a little bit, but to absolute perfection. Johnny May has capitalised on another South African mistake. There was some real good slick handling here as well. Curry eventually freed it up, and then look at that for a kick through the traffic. Thought it was going to go dead. Johnny May came at tremendous pace. And no doubt about it, it's a try. It's a brilliant try in these conditions. In fact, in any conditions. From turnover ball, disorganised defence, good decision, great execution.
Well, Johnny May, for the third consecutive week, scoring against South Africa. Scored the last try of the game in Johannesburg. And England's second try in Bloemfontein when they went 12-0 ahead. And now puts his side 10 points ahead with less than 8 minutes to play. And this kick from Owen Farrell to come. Farrell from the touchline, and it's another beauty.
Good decision making here from Cipriani. He's mixed it up all afternoon. The space was out there, the chase outstanding. Johnny May.
Well, Eddie Jones picked Cipriani just for moments like that, and boy, he's delivered.
And Johnny May simply has no off button. He has been incredible. You think of the chase he made back in defence, the back end of the first half, to cut out a very dangerous situation. Oh, Esterhuizen looking for the pass back to Billy Leroux and just slipping out behind him. Oh, good ball. Dianchi inside for Leroux and then Mostert. England have another penalty. It's just a string of penalties. It's 13 of them now against South Africa, and it's a bit like England were in the first 2 test matches of this series, unable to build any momentum when you're conceding this many penalties and turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob Shaw, another workhorse in this England pack of forwards. And to the point we made at the start of the game, the conditions certainly much more comfortable for this England team. They'd be used to playing in it. They pile numbers in at the breakdown.
10 seconds
South
are gone
Africa
already.
at times have not been able to win their ruck ball at the tackle. And as Mostert goes to ground out, Rob Shaw is very quick to get hands on. He's not able to be moved by South African winger Dianchi, who's not able to move the bigger loose forward. And as a result, England win the penalty. It's just no numbers there from South Africa. England have ploughed in numbers when they've needed it, and when they haven't, they've stood off. South Africa at times just been outdone by the decision-making and the strength of this England pack of forwards.
An absolute brilliance from this man off the kicking tee. Talk about conditions. They're slippery underfoot, slippery ball. And he's just continued to strike them beautifully through the middle of the uprights, and 15 points the lead now with less than 5 to go. For all money, it looks as though England have arrested their slide.
And broken that losing streak of 5. Eddie Jones will feel a little bit of relief as the kick probably doesn't go 10. No. And a second test cap for Ambrose Papier as he makes his way on for the last 4.5 minutes.
You tell me. Yeah.
Well, South Africa wrapping up the series last week. We also had the blitz box at half-time in this game, parading with the HSBC Sevens World Series trophy. And some other fantastic sporting news for South Africa from elsewhere in the world. Jovan Rabula, the nephew of Ernie Els, winning the British Amateur Championship final this afternoon.
Sit!
Well, South Africa getting a free kick. Ben Young's taking an eternity. Mostert with the drive. Kitsoff, Pollard, and then LaRue, and the interception is there. Henry Slade.
Playing. Still not
and the line at his mercy.
Only not on.
Oh, he'll be kicking himself.
Very good read and defence from England.
Little wry smile there. He knows that's a 5-pointer on his name gone. 7 points for England. Under the polls, it would certainly have been. It is game over, but that would have been the icing on the cake for Henry Slade.
14 seconds before.
And the last change here for England, Denny Solomona makes his way on. And it is that man Slade who's going to make his way off. Pre-planned, certainly not a result of the knock-on.
Get down, get ready. Get ready. Okay, Tom on. Crouch!
So Ambrose Papier, who made an appearance off the bench in the loss to Wales in Washington, on at scrum half, and South Africa's scrum getting decimated. Marler, the last man up, and getting all the plaudits.
And he's played the full 80 minutes. I said it earlier, there were those, not just the English fans, a couple of South African rugby pundits who felt he should have been in the starting lineup right from day one in the first test. He's had a huge evening so far tonight, and Owen, maybe you as a former front rower would comment better, but Joe Marler has been one of the differences in this England performance tonight.
Yeah, rightly so. Just to match it up front, then allow South Africa to go forward. But what really stood out for me over and above the scrum is the hard work they did on the tight loose. Sinclair together with Marler was one of the differences in this third test match. Another big plus for England. They'll go into the off-season now with a fresher start come their incoming series come November. There's no better way than finishing off a season on the high. You'll always remember the positive.
And they play South Africa first in their autumn series at Twickenham.
Yep, what a game that'll be.
Use it!
Harry Williams, the replacement tight head. Head down and into contact. Dwayne Vermeulen and Joe Marler just getting to grips once again. There's been a couple of scuffles off the ball.
Stay on side, Green.
And inside the final minute, England just managing the possession. Grown in confidence throughout this second half. They've continued to be excellent at the breakdown. There was some really good work early on in the game, especially from Tom Curry, but Chris Robshaw has grown into that role as well in the second period. Notcher looks to his inside for Du Toit. Papier, Pollard, and then Creel. Notcher cut down by Toja.
There. Stay on. Stay on. Stay on. Yeah, I'm going to go there.
Schalk Brits. We see him in a Springbok jersey again. You wonder. Definitely added value to the team environment as they've prepared for these final 2 tests against England, but that's enough for Ben Youngs. England have broken that losing streak and done so in some style. The series may well have been gone after the first 2 tests in Johannesburg and Bloemfontein, but here in Cape Town, they've managed the conditions much, much better. Outstanding at the breakdown. Their set piece served them well, and their captain, Owen Farrell, kicked magnificently well. 6 penalties and a conversion from him. It was a try from Johnny May, the 3rd for him in the series. And for South Africa, a penalty from Elton Jantjies in the first half, a try from Jesse Creel, converted by Jantjies in the second. It wasn't enough. Full time at Newlands. It's South Africa 10, England 25. England victorious at Newlands in the 3rd and final test match of the series by 25 points to 10. They managed the conditions superbly well. Their captain, Owen Farrell, kicked 6 penalties and a conversion of Johnny May's try. He didn't miss from the kicking tee. Superb from the England captain, his first win as England captain in his 4th test with the leadership. South Africa will rue the 14 penalties conceded and also the turnovers conceded. 14 penalties, 9 turnovers, 13 handling errors. Just not enough there to build momentum for the Springboks in this 3rd and final test. So England victorious. Down to the post-match presentation with Owen Nkumani.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew. What a great contest at the end, and I thought it was a superb contest, especially with the weather conditions. Our man of the match, Castle man of the match is Johnny May. I'd like to call Mr. Fenton Bele from our sponsors to present him with the gold coin. Johnny, another great try, but this time around as a team, superb victory.
Yeah, we simpled it back. It's been a tough time at England, but we got our mojo back today and dug deep, and hopefully this will be the start of the rise back.
Talking about the rise back, especially you're going on a break now. Next test matches against South Africa. Surely you'll be prepared, more prepared for them?
Yeah, we'll have a bit of a rest, and I'm sure we'll be better than we are now when we face Springboks in the autumn, but I'm sure they'll be better as well. So we'll work hard, focus on ourselves, enjoy tonight, but hopefully we can start winning again and keep getting better.
Glad to see a smile. Safe travels. It's been a great series, and all the best going forward.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Johnny May. Job well done. The losing captain, Siya Kolisi. Siya, not the result you're expecting. Tough one.
Yeah, it was really tough. I think we dropped ourselves in the intensity, a lot of mistakes, and I think the discipline as well wasn't good.
When you look back at the series, what were some of the positives?
Yeah, obviously, I think we just started as a new group. I think we got better and better every week. Obviously, we dropped up this weekend. But I think the more time we're with each other, the better we get as a team.
18th of August, Argentina and Durban. What is it that this group needs to improve on come the Rugby Championship?
I think from today, I think we just got to make sure we keep our intensity. The higher the intensity, the better we play, and control the tempo of the game. You know, everything was slow today, and I think we're working on England's tempo. I think that was a mistake.
Well, overall, a job well done for the series, and good luck going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Thank you to the people of South Africa for getting behind us. It was really awesome. And the people of Cape Town for coming out in this rainy day today. Really appreciate it.
Sure, Buddha.
Sure, Buddha.
Now, winning captain, Owen Farrell. 2 tough weeks. When it mattered most, you came through.
Yeah, spoken all 3 weeks about just sticking together, and there's been a lot of stuff going on outside, but I'm proud of the way the boys stuck at it, and now it's up to us to make sure that we've come out the other side of these losses. We've got to stick at getting better now, but that's definitely a start.
What was the difference when you look at the first 2 test matches and today?
I think penalty count is one, definitely, and I thought we stayed engaged throughout the game. I thought there was far less errors in us today, even in these conditions, and I thought to a man, each and every one of these boys were bang on it today.
Next test match against South Africa in November. What is it that you're going to learn from this tour to make sure you get a victory back home?
You know, we weren't too far off before. As I said, sometimes when you have a few losses in a row, your confidence gets knocked and you start getting a bit too desperate. I don't think today we was desperate whatsoever. We was in control of what we were doing. We'll have to take that forward.
Good luck. We enjoyed you in South Africa and all the best going forward.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Owen.
So that's how it ends here at Newlands in Cape Town. A very cold day, but in the end, also a cold result as far as South Africans are concerned, losing that third and final test against England. So South Africa winning this test series 2-1, and unfortunately just falling at that final hurdle. Otwa, you had so much to pull out of this match, so many nuggets. What for you has been the biggest disappointment?
I think it was obviously a big disappointment for the team. With the conditions that we had today, you knew that they'll be putting us under pressure, well, the Springboks under pressure by kicking those up and unders, and we didn't handle that very well. And the biggest thing was also we couldn't get out of our half. And when we did get out of our half, we couldn't get momentum from our set piece, you know, something that worked for us in the first 2 games where we could drive them and get penalties or score tries from it. Today, they just stopped our drives, and at scrum time, it was difficult. So, you know, those are the lessons that hopefully this young team can learn and understand that, you know, you need to be able to adapt on all conditions, you know. So those are the lessons I think they'll have to learn.
And another change that they made, they're hitting us very, very hard at the breakdown as well. All those turnovers that they kept getting. Where do you think it went wrong for South Africa there?
Yeah, I think that's key exactly. You know, you can't get any momentum if you don't secure your own ruck. You know, so and they targeted our rucks big time. So it just killed the momentum and it made it difficult for us to build any phases and to get out of our half. So I think England did well in that.
And Johnny May also just that final try, the nail in the coffin, and for him to chase the way he did and outsmart that South African defense.
Yeah, I think Johnny May has been one of the standout performers for England, and you know, it's good for him. I think he also got man of the match, so you know, you can't substitute pace, you know, because where he chased that kick down, he never gave up and scored it at the end.
Yeah, well, a brilliant, a better performance that is from England in this third test on a cold day, conditions that they certainly are used to, but it is the English that walk away, of course, with victory here, 25 points to 10. Let's go quickly and just look at our Land Rover moment.
And Hughes off the back and driven backwards in the tackle by Faf de Klerk.
So that being our Land Rover Beyond a moment, and X is still standing by with our team in one of our zones on the far side of the field. I don't think a lot of happy South African faces there. Jean, Jeremy, as well as Victor joining in.
Yeah, well, thanks, Motsidi. So there is one man here amongst us who will be smiling. He called the match. He said England by 5. He got even more than he bargained for. Jeremy, you satisfied with that? Is that the England that you expected to come out in match 1?
I think it's a more traditional England. It's quite strange in a way that Eddie, when he first took the job, said, look, I'm going to make England better at what they're traditionally good at. And he went a little bit away from that. And now these conditions, the situation, I think, has driven them to play a set-piece game with backing up with good kicking. The difference today for me, though, was South Africa gave 14 penalties away, England only 6.
Yeah.
England turned the ball over 9 times, South Africa only 4 times. You add to that the accuracy of Ben Young's kicking, Cipriani's kicking, and Owen Farrell against the South African halfbacks, and there's your win. I think they played smarter, more accurate rugby this evening, and that got them the victory.
Yeah, Jean, that penalty count really started mounting up, and it seemed to have a cascading effect. You know, it was 4, 5, 6, and it just kept on rolling on. It's almost as if the Boks lost control.
Yeah, and I quite enjoyed Owen Farrell's assessment of the game. You know, a lot has been said about his leadership, but I think he summed it up quite quite well post-match, where he said, he was asked what was the difference between the first 2 games and this one, and he said purely the penalty count. Whereas in the first 2 games, they gave away a lot of penalties, silly penalties, yellow cards. It really cost them. This time around, they were able to force South Africa to make more mistakes, concede more penalties, and England was able to capitalize on that. So that was probably the difference. I suppose the big question mark around South Africa would be, it was quite a resounding win at the end, 25 points to 10. So even though they clawed back nicely, it was sort of with 10 minutes to go, the game was over. So look, it's one of those games where South Africa is, it's still only their 4th game together as a team. They've improved in so many areas. This is certainly one where they can still improve a hell of a lot, and that'll be a focus point going into the next 16 months until World Cup.
Victor, we spoke about the forward battle that we anticipated for this match. The English seem to have stepped it up a lot more than we saw in that first 2 matches. The breakdown battle was an area that they all feel that they dominated. Scrums as well, they contested very nicely at the line-out. Is that the England pack that you expected to see, as asked Jeremy, in match 1 and 2?
It is, but we must still take the conditions into play here. This is what they're used to. The scrum is a longer scrum. It's not like at the Highveld where you can get that shove on and you overpower guys. Here you have to be patient in the scrum. Wait for a mistake, wait for one of the props, maybe just turn an angle and then come through. That's what England do. That's what they do in the Premiership. Again, going to a kicking game. I think they had options from 9, 10 and 12 kicking. We almost just kicked off 5. We never used our 10. We never used Andre Estrada with his left boot. So those are the little things that we will have to have a look at. We know how to play at the half-veld. How do we play in these conditions when it's wet, when it's difficult to keep ball in hand, when it's difficult to stretch maybe a bigger, heavier pack around the field? So those are the little things that we'll have to go have a look at, and how we need a plan to work that out.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt there'll be valuable lessons learned, particularly from the youngsters and those so-called fringe players in the Springbok squad. They are being tested and tried out, and new combinations as well that we haven't seen before that played in this match, though the experienced guys will be fairly disappointed. Victor spoke about the fact that the conditions were not those that South African teams are used to. One of the men that will have relied heavily on is Tendai Mtawarira, who was Mozidi Simohono just a moment ago.
Well, here they are, the Springboks just taking their lap of honor around Newlands. And I know it's a disappointing result, Tendai, but a win in the end with this young team.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the positive side is that we won the series. Obviously not too happy about the performance today, but we can build on this, And we're a young team, and yeah, I think there's been a lot of good work put in the series.
Game 101 for you. Are you still smarting from all the celebrations that we had in Bloemfontein?
Yeah, and obviously it still hasn't sunk in yet. I think it's really, just unbelievable, to be part of that elite group of guys, to play my 100th, and it's been, guys really made it special for me. So, yep, there's still a lot of hard work to come, and I definitely look forward to playing more and just contributing to this team.
Well, thank you for joining us, and a brilliant series in the end for you.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Right, Tendai Mtawarira playing in his 101st Test match this weekend. Obviously celebrating that 100 Test last weekend, and obviously speaking about the fact that they're trying to build depth from a Springbok point of view, Jean, looking ahead to next year's World Cup. Beast is one of those guys who's been around. He's going to be a senior statesman. Do you think perhaps there might be a slightly different role for him rather than being a starter, or is Rassie more keen, do you think, on selecting the more experienced senior players to kick things off, to start off the match? What's your assessment after what we've seen in his last 3?
Yeah, I think so. I think Beast brings that. Obviously he's a fantastic player. He's proven that in the past. He's playing good rugby at the moment, so he's certainly, in the squad because of his performances over the season. But he also brings a lot of experience, and with a young side, I think it is important to have that kind of guy there for the start of the game. And you see it now. It's basically 40-40 with him and Steven Kitshoff. Yeah. And Kitshoff really makes a difference when he comes on. So when that transition happens where Kitshoff will start starting games, we don't know. But I think having the two of them as your two loose heads, I think South Africa is in a very privileged position. We're actually in a position where there's quite a few tight heads as well. Probably 4 or 5 guys that can stake a claim for the 2 tight head positions in a match day 23, and that's a good position to be in. So Beastie's got his role to play, you know, as a player, but certainly as a leader in the bigger group as well.
We can't talk loose-head props and not touch on the performance put in by Joe Marler today, Jeremy.
Yeah, conditions again suited him. England knew it was going to be a set-piece game. Joe has been contesting with Mako for some time now, but having the first starting position. Mako went on that Lions tour, came to prominence as a scrummager, bizarrely. Got a bit of a reputation for that, which he didn't have, and that kind of put Marler's out of joint somewhat. But now he's come back, and it was a game for him. He's never going to be massive around the park. He'll make his tackles like the whole of the front five do. They very rarely miss it because it's all tight quarters. But I always feel that you've got to have your loose head or your tight head. One of them's got to be destructive in some way. And today, neither of our England props were that destructive. They did a job. There was no X factor about them.
Well, we have touched on the big guys, but the small guys have also, during the course of the series, shown the biggest heart, none more so than Faf de Klerk, who also was in front of our cameras a short while ago.
Faf, tough conditions, which, fair to say, England managed a lot better than the Springboks today.
I'm not quite sure about that. I think first off, we had a lot of possession and we had a territory as well. So when we got into change room, it felt like they had more territory, but I think we won that first half in the kicking battle. We started one the second half, and then we just started to lose the ball in the air. And they were good on the scraps, and I think that's where we lost it a bit. So a bit of work for us there, but yeah, I'm very proud of the guys. To get the series win was great. Yeah, we're very happy with this loss, but I think we're building, and as a group we understand that we're going. We want to build to become a great side, and we're not going to do that overnight. So hopefully this is a great turning point for us.
Talk to me about your own personal experience being back in this green and gold jersey over this last 3 weeks in a relatively new environment.
Yeah, I've actually absolutely loved it. I think the coaching has been great. I'm enjoying every minute of it. Just the vibe in the team is awesome, and we really do enjoy spending time together. And just to be back is such a blessing. And yeah, I can't give all thanks to God, and just to be back with the team is great. And it's always special to put on this jersey. You never want to lose in it, but like I said, we're building somewhere special, I think. Cheers.
Well, he certainly has given it his all in this three-test series. Even today, we saw him put in a wonderful tackle against a way bigger man, but this man certainly has come to the party. It looks as though, Victor, I'm going to ask you because you're the tallest amongst us, and it would be quite an embarrassing thing to be taken back like we saw earlier today by a man this small, but he really has had a wonderful impact in the Springbok squad. We were worried that there wasn't a man to fill that number 9 jersey, to fill the void, as it were, and I suppose going overseas, it's worked out for him.
Yeah, I must say, he's playing with a lot of heart, and in those first 2 games, he was really the guy putting the speed on the ball, getting the Springboks to go forward, playing the right options. Tonight, maybe 1 or 2 mistakes, and that's the thing he has to work on, the error rate. If you're a top-class international scrum off, you can't make errors, and tonight there was just 1 or 2, but still he came back, he did a lot of the kicking, he did a lot of the hard work. So again, the way he put Nathan Hughes back there, that's the big heart from a little man.
I think the beauty that you have and the Boks have, and Razzie will know with Faf, is that he can improve. He can do the running game in his sleep, he can bang that ball out. It's when to make that break and really sucker in the defence, and also the accuracy with his box kicks. In Bloom they were good, tonight not quite so good, so that's something to work on, and when that's accurate, again there'll be more competitive kicks that you can win back and keep the momentum.
Got to ask about his opposite number, Ben Youngs, what that does as a player up against a big name player, up against a Ben Youngs, who you know was a tried and tested player, he's really of international quality. Is that something that players generally take and carry on into the next match and into the careers?
We all love competition. You always want to get one across your opposite number, your opposite second rows, your opposite inside 3 backs. Ben Youngs is 70-odd caps. He's massively experienced. He's been in every sort of situation, and I think he, like the rest of the team, started really slowly. There was no real bounce to their game. Ben Youngs has had a lot of competition from Danny Kerr. Ben Youngs has been injured, and he's normally sniping around the side. I don't think he made a break in the 3 matches, which is very unusual for Ben, which is kind of saying, is he lacking a little bit of confidence? But today he got back in the zone. His box kicks were pretty much on the money, allowed the defensive line to come up, and it worked very well.
I think also what you found from Ben Youngs today was the control that he brought to the kicking game of England, and they just seemed more comfortable in doing it than what South Africa did, and that's probably what gave them the upper hand.
He also did have a nice little snaking run in the South African 22 as well, so certainly still as dangerous as he's always been. But there is a lot of focus from a South African point of view on the young players, and the guys getting their first proper run with the team, first opportunities, and an opportunity to impress Rassie Erasmus. A man who seems to have cemented his place in the wider squad is Khumbuzo Noche, who played off the bench today as well in front of his home crowd. He also spoke to Motsidisi Mohono.
Well, another member of the team that has been doing so well coming off of the bench, that was the mandate for you. How do you rate your performance today?
After that, there's not ratings, Mott's obviously disappointing to lose at Newlands. But for me personally, unbelievable 4 weeks that I've had with the squad. It's been unbelievable. A dream come true to be a Springbok. But yeah, credit to the boys for the last 2 performances, but not this one.
Other than this one, there seems to be this a great sort of synergy in the team, a new sort of culture that is brewing. All these youngsters that are able to step up with their experienced guys leading you on. What have you made of just how things have sort of changed in terms of the culture in the team? Yeah, well, coach always speaks about treating people as adults. On and off the field, it reflected. You know what is right as an adult. You know what is wrong. So if we behave off the field, I mean, it will transfer onto the field. But I guess not today. I think today we let ourselves down. We let the people of Cape Town down. And it's just, they've come out in their numbers. It was a rainy day. Well, thank you, first and foremost. Obviously not an ideal result for them. But, there's a rugby championship that we obviously looking forward to prepare for. And Super Rugby coming back as well. I'm sure you're excited. Yeah, excited. I'm excited to go back to the Stormers. Obviously, we haven't had a good season. Rectifying the things in the last couple of games. Leaving next week to Argentina. Number one. Thank you so much for joining us, Khumbuzo. Thank you very much, Mas.
Khumbuzo Noche. He's one of the young stars in the Western Province. He's also one of the young stars in that Springbok squad as well. He's had a stint playing a little bit of sevens. It seems to have had a wonderful impact on his game. His work rate is absolutely immense, and that's probably why, more than anything, Rassie has included him in the squad.
Yeah, and he's one of the few guys that's been involved with all 4 test matches. I think what Rassie wants from him is that bit of sevens experience that he built up, and that sort of flair that he brings to the team. With ball in hand, he's quite dangerous, and we probably haven't been able to see enough of that in this series. But he is a very talented guy, and I'm sure his stint with the sevens guys upped his skills. We know how good they are on the individual skills, and I think it's beneficial to anyone that really joins that squad. So, he'll take a lot of confidence out of these 4 games, hopefully play a bit of rugby for Stormers, build on that confidence and play a part in the Rugby Championship.
Is that something that creeps into the 15-man game, players who transfer from sevens at all in England, Jeremy? Because we do see a lot of cross-pollination here, and it seems generally, as Jean says, to have an impact, or a positive impact on the men in the 15-man game.
Well, back in the UK, the sevens are their own squad, do their own training. It's a totally different conditioning, and I think you become a young star in the sevens game. You travel the world, they got great tournaments. You are building to your own World Cup as well, which is this year in San Francisco. And I think, certainly, I've not known any great star of sevens in England come across and make the transition and become a #1 pick for the England side. I don't think it's happened in
maybe Ollie Barkley, perhaps.
No, he's too slow. He can play sevens.
All right, well, we are continuing to hear from a lot of the players who were interviewed a little bit earlier. One of the men who's been absolutely fascinating to catch up with and speak to over the last couple of weeks, he was absolutely surprised that he got a call-up, got an opportunity to get onto the pitch this evening. Skalk Brits.
Skulk, a return to Test rugby, not the result you would have wanted, but tell us about these 2 weeks that you've had in the environment.
Matt, it's been absolutely amazing. Firstly, it's a surprise call-up, but saying that, it was hard work. Rusty knows what he wants out of the team. You can see in the last 3 weeks the kind of passion they put back in the Springbok shirt. Today didn't go our way. A bit of game management, a bit of work, and it's not great when the results don't go our way, but so you learn. And I think the big focus, people hate saying this, I guess, but it is building a new squad, a young squad. The average age is 25 to the next World Cup. So we tried a new combination. Some of it worked, some didn't. You live and learn.
A lot of turnovers, a lot of penalties. It was difficult to build any kind of momentum in those circumstances.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're playing at Newlands, the ball doesn't... you can't kick it as far. It doesn't carry as far. And if you make penalties in the wet, they're gonna hit you hard. And we struggle to get in their half. So it's one of those things. There was not a lack of effort. It was just some stupid penalties, I would say. But it's something we can work on, something we can improve. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this team can achieve in the next 18 months.
Do you feel confident and satisfied with what you've been able to contribute in the environment these last couple of weeks?
I mean, you've got great coaches here. The little bit I add is just the icing on the top. But you've got great coaches. You've got players that want to learn, players that want to improve, and they want to make the country proud. I mean, the work ethic they put in is unbelievable. So it's proud just sometimes just sitting back. I don't want to say sitting back, but sitting back and watching these boys train, and they've got a determination to become the #1 team in the world.
Well, he certainly has been a valuable player for Saracens over the years, for Western Province, the Stormers and the Springboks as well. Do you see a role for Skulk Brits, maybe Victor, I should ask you, that extends beyond just playing? Do you think there's a deeper reason that Rassie would have included him, perhaps his experience dealing with young players, maybe something leaning towards management?
Yeah, I don't really think so. I think that he's there to play, firstly. And I think if you look at our hookers, Malcolm Marx must be our #1. I think Bongi must be our #2. So maybe Russ is looking for that third guy that can maybe come off the bench, or someone with an impact like Skulk Brits does. And Malcolm Marx will, 80% of the time, he will start the test matches. Do you get a guy that's maybe got some other skills than a Malcolm Marx, a guy like Skulk that can run around, that can give offloads away, that put some space into the game? So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he still looked pretty good tonight, and let's see what Rusty do with him in the year to come.
Well, talking about experienced players, I've got to ask you about the impact of Danny Cipriani. We haven't really had a chance to talk about his impact being injected into this England team, having been absent from the international squad for so long. Looked absolutely the part, controlled the game. I think it was wonderful today.
Yeah, I think it was a good step for Danny. He's clearly been working hard in training on his attitude and being inclusive and not having a go at guys who drop balls or make errors. And he's taken that onto the field. I don't think he's going to immediately come into the side like some number 10s do and boss it, because Farrell's the overriding character, personality in the whole team, and that includes the back line. So I probably think that he probably submitted slightly to Farrell. He made the calls and Danny executed. But then when it gets a bit looser, he can come into his own. And then I think that becomes difficult for other people to read him, although someone like Daly and Johnny May can get on the end of it. His kick is perfectly weighted for Johnny May to get on the end of. So I think he can be pleased with his performance today.
Do you think he's worked his way back into Eddie Jones' reckoning? Perhaps, as Jeremy says, not as the overarching, I mean, Ford is still young. There's a lot of still to come in terms of experience, but perhaps wangle his way into that squad with an eye on the World Cup.
Yeah, look, I think there's still very healthy competition between him and Ford. Farrell will be there, whether it's 10 or 12, he will be there. And I think what I've found from Danny Cipriani today versus the Cipriani that started his last test match in 2008 is just, he was composed. He was composed as his 10. Yes, he didn't do the flashy stuff that we know that he can do. Yeah. He was composed, he made good decisions, he didn't make mistakes. And that's what you want from your fly-half. You just want a more all-round performance. And yes, it was maybe driven a lot by Owen Farrell, but I think certainly from his point of view, in these conditions that does not suit his typical style, I think it's a pass mark for him.
What you saw was his natural ability when he kicked the ball through.
Yeah.
That was just a feel, a sight, a go for it, bummed it through, and May read it. Brilliant.
Got to ask you about Eddie Jones. There was a lot of pressure on him going into this match. A lot said about what his future entails. Going back to England, having not won the series or potentially losing 3 in a row. This is a pretty convincing performance. Do you think it erases all of that in one fell swoop?
Yeah, I must say, it was interesting seeing him arriving here with a big smile on his face, walking out on the pitch, smiling. Yeah, I think after this victory, he'll be there at the World Cup next year. They can't get rid of him now. He had the record for 21 games in a row, 22. Yes, they had a bad year, but sometimes that happens before a World Cup. We had the same, and we still won the World Cup the next year. We took 49-0 from Australia. So I still think he's still got the squad. You could see the guys coming out tonight. Last game of the season, putting in a performance like that, then you know he's still got that change room.
I think Eddie is experienced. He has to reboot. I think there's been some challenges off the field that have resulted with the performances on the field. There's clearly something going wrong given the amount of penalties that they were giving away. It's just, you tell guys not to do it, and if they don't respond, they're not listening to you. So at least they've eradicated that. They put in a solid performance. It's not mind-blowing, but it gets them the opportunity to have a bit of time off, think about what's going on, review the tour, review the performances, and then build towards the World Cup, starting with the box in November.
And what I also saw prior to the game, because a lot of the time you go on a winning streak, then you start losing, and the coach loses his players, but it doesn't seem this team is happy. And beforehand, what I saw is that the players still backing Eddie, and that's a good sign. They put in the performance today.
Rusty, at half-time, you asked for better discipline from the players, but the penalty count continued to mount in that second half.
Yeah, well, I probably should point the finger at myself there. You know, if you as a coach can't get the guys more disciplined during a game after half-time chat, then probably you said something wrong, or they didn't understand the message, you know. And that Test match rugby, although it's 3 points, 6 points, 9 points in weather like this, you know, then you start chasing a game and you have to play in your own half in weather like this. So yeah, I thought discipline was terrible, and yeah, I'll have to go and do some homework.
Yeah, so penalties and also the breakdown turnovers. It seemed that England just managed the breakdown perhaps a bit better.
I know Glenn, the way Glenn referees, he likes a clear breakdown. You know, he gives the most penalties of all referees. The stat shows it before this game. He's very hard at penalty counts at breakdown, and he did the same. So we knew that, and we prepared for that, but we executed not great. And again, you know, something somewhere during the week. I know we had a lot of new players and combinations and stuff, but that shouldn't influence penalty count, discipline, breakdown. You know, it should influence other things. So no, there's no excuses for that.
What about the lessons learned over the course of the series with this group of players who you now have to send back to Super Rugby franchises before Rugby Championship?
No, great lessons learned. Not just about the players, about us as a coaching team and how we approach a week, and you know, and how after 2 wins you must still get the guys to stay focused on small little things that bit us today. And again, this week I as a coach learned a lot. You know, there's some guys that you must put the pedal on a little bit. Other guys you can just leave and they'll pitch up the same way they always do. And that's how we'll learn as a group. But it's always terrible to lose, you know. So it's not nice. The series is won, but it's terrible to lose here at Newlands.
But also important to learn about conditions like this, which were completely different to what you faced the first couple of games.
Yeah, we like to play tempo game and speed it up. You know, in England like to slow it down and play set piece to set piece. And you know, in this weather, it's difficult to speed it up, and it's difficult to run from your own half. So yes, and we might get that in Japan next year. You know, and these players will definitely learn from today. But we mustn't be one of those teams who just always say we're learning, but we're never implementing after learning. So yes, we must learn, but we must now implement if we get weather like this again.
Now, Rassi speaks about this weather, and quite fitting that there are Russians in the van. I think they brought the weather along with them. It is vodka weather. It is vodka weather, can't deny that. But, Jean, overall, the series, will Rassi be satisfied? Will Eddie be heartened at the way they bounced back?
Yeah, I think Eddie will be happy that he won the last game. So, you know, he's back to fight another day. From a South African point of view, I think Rassi will be, he'll be relieved that we won the series. He won't be happy. He won't be happy that we lost the last game, and I think there's still a lot of improvement. But if you look at the South African public, and from our point of view, you know, before the series started, not a lot of people was positive about the prospect of this series. So we would have taken a 2-1 win prior to the series. So I think it is purely just us improving all the time, going into Rugby Championship. It will be a different challenge, and seeing if we can get better until we get to the World Cup next year.
Jeremy, we saw a couple of visiting fans. They got a little bit vocal when the English kept the crowd quiet, which is something that you speak about, the importance of doing that, of traveling and silencing the home crowd. They'll be really happy with that, going back home after what looked like could have been a 3-0 whitewash.
Yeah, they've saved the whitewash, which is good news. They've got a victory, which will give them confidence. They can have a little summer off now, thinking about the next game and not worrying too much. The review will be pretty brutal, I think. It will expose that England don't have the strength in depth that they once thought. They thought Eddie's working, like all coaches going to the World Cup, of having 3 players in every single position. England haven't got that at the moment, and the 10, 12, 13 hasn't been sorted out. I think we've got Riches, the 2 wingers and the fullback. We used to be very strong in depth in the second row. Just found out we're not. The front rows are still challenging, and who can replace Billy van der Poel? Because Nathan Hughes had a steady game, but not a mind-blowing game. And what we touched on at the beginning of the programme with the finishers, where the subs coming on, making an impact. They came on this evening and held the fort. You know, didn't let the doors get bashed down like they did in the 2 previous games. So looking for some X factor. That's what Eddie will be looking for leading up to the World Cup.
Well, he is a man who's got quite a relationship with South Africa, having helped coach the team in 2007, having been appointed as a coach at this very stadium for the Stormers, but obviously after that opting to take on the England job. He'll have some really strong views after what he's seen, and perhaps a lot of those touching on what Jeremy has spoken about with an eye to next year's World Cup.
Eddie, congratulations, job well done. But if you look across your entire team, they all contributed, but especially those who were selected for today, who perhaps didn't contribute last week, some outstanding performances.
Yeah, no, some really good performances today. I thought Rob Shaw was good. You know, Cipriani had one moment to take and he took it. And so that was really useful for us. But it was a great team effort today. I thought the senior players led well. Yeah, and what were difficult conditions, you know. Test match rugby's played in all different conditions, and today was a testing conditions. And it's probably going to be, we're going to have some games very similar in the World Cup like this.
You said before the game the importance of the pack and how they went at set piece. They did outstandingly at set piece, including defending the line-out drive a couple of times.
Yeah, you know, for an old guy like me, it's nice to see rugby games like this where you've got, yeah, you got 8 against 8, and then there's a winner and a loser, and generally who wins that contest wins the game. And that's what it was like today, and our pack, I think, probably had the edge. You know, the Springboks Maul in the first 2 tests dominated us, but we've had a good week's preparation and found a way to be better today.
And what about the feeling in the team ending off the series on a win? You're playing South Africa next at Twickenham.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to get them there. You know, it'd be nice if we were playing next week, because I think we've seen each week on the tour us get better as a team. You know, as I've said, and I haven't used it as an excuse, but we have got a young team here, and they need time together to play. You know, we've had a young captain who's matured. You can see in the 3 weeks he's matured as a captain. Today I thought he handled Jacko very well. He's learned from the previous 2 games. So, yeah, we'd like to play him next week. Maybe we can organise another game next week.
What about discipline? It's been a theme for you over the first 2 test matches, and in the most difficult conditions of the tour, it was your team today that kept their discipline.
Yeah, well, it's always, you know, you've got to learn from your mistakes, and a lot of the time discipline is a lack of trust in your teammate and in yourself. And I think we've had a bit of that, you know, people trying to solve it by themselves rather than allow the team to solve it, and that was much better today.
Well, congratulations on the win here. We'll see you at Twickenham.
Thank you. Can't wait. Cheers.
He started off by referring to next year's Rugby World Cup, Victor. Very interesting that he highlights the conditions of some that might be faced by teams when they go there next year. And Eddie does know a lot about Japan.
Yeah, he knows the conditions very well. He coached over there. I think in 3 years' time he only lost 1 game, so he knows what the conditions are like over there. But like he said, his team really showed today. They showed the composure that John spoke about. They took control. They were the calmer team, and their forwards were the guards getting on the front foot, making the turnovers at the breakdown. So he'll be happy, and South Africa will know there's certain things that we still have to work on. But we've won this series, and I think it's a great start for Rassie and the team.
Well, thank you, Vic. Thank you very much, John, and especially thank you to you, Jeremy.
I'm going to miss Jerry, eh?
We are going to miss him. I think he wants to stay in Cape Town.
I'm coming back to Cape Town.
Yeah, I
You'll
think
see me in January.
his family doesn't know yet, but we'll let them know. And